Hey everybody, welcome to our humble little lobby called Where We Stand. I say crawled instead of called, but whatever. A series where we discuss the various strengths and weaknesses of the games we play. Today we will be discussing Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, which is currently available for Xbox One and the PC. Specifically the Microsoft Store, if you want to get it there, if you have Game Pass, or on Steam, if you'd rather get it there. It's up to you. Keep in mind that the opinions stated here are strictly our own and that we'd love to hear yours, or read yours, more accurately. So if you agree or disagree with us, let us know in the comments below. And with that, I'm Daryl, that's Dion, and we welcome you to DuoQueue. So let's kick things off with what we find interesting about Halo Combat Evolved as a whole. I'll let you start, Dion.
Sure. So we really want to go through first our strengths and what we thought the game did really, really well. So the first thing I want to talk about here is, our favorite moments. What really stood out to us. And my favorite moment, I believe, is the second mission, arriving on Halo. So that was just an amazing experience. In the first level, you start off going through corridors, and it's just small. You're fighting enemies, you come into them, and then you hit the second mission. It's just an open world, or it feels like a pseudo open world, I should say, where you see the Halo and you see this new adventure, really, and it's just a big start. And I felt like that is just a huge moment for anyone that's coming to play the game. Like, wow, I'm in this world. It's beautiful. It's open. I can drive this warthog, right? There's just so many things going on in that level. So I would say that level for sure is my favorite moment. I know you liked the fourth mission. How about you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I like the fourth mission, the Silent Cartographer, because I believed it was a really beautiful location to travel. I liked going across the shores and the beaches, and how it went from, okay, you're out in the middle of out there in the shore in the beachy areas, then you go inside into a very corridor structure. It felt like, I can't remember a specific movie, but the sci-fi movies where they're like, we're going to build our giant facility on the shore of a beach because we like to be evil, but we like to have a beautiful view too.
So you like that mix. That mix is really what you like.
Yeah. It doesn't have to feel dreary for me to enjoy it. And considering how tired I was during that time, it quickly woke me up, because the moment you go in to the mission, you kind of just go right into it with all the Marines and all their lines and how often they can kind of annoy you, or at least annoy me a little bit, just with how often they go there. There's a reason we killed them a lot for their weapons, or at least there's a reason I killed them a lot.
I wanted the weapons,
but yeah. Either way around, I liked it, Silent Cartographer, because the way the level was designed, it kept it from feeling repetitive. It was linear, but not too linear, if that makes sense. It was a great balance between traversal and combat.
No, I would agree 100%. You really could feel both options. Sometimes you're driving, then you get to this one level. Unlike the second mission where it felt like all open world, that fourth mission you were very much open world, into a tunnel, outside a tunnel, and you go to different parts of the island. So that was a really cool change of pace, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of changes of pace, I really enjoyed the sixth mission as well, 343 Guilty Spark, where the Flood are introduced, and I'm a sucker for horror. I wouldn't call Halo a horror game, obviously, but it has its moments where it dabbles in it a little bit, and I really enjoyed the shift in tone, where you're just going through the facility and whatnot, and you see you just see corpses left behind of enemies you fought as well as allies, and one of my favorite parts was when you open I shot this guy, but when that moment when you open the door and one of the other Marines, I can't remember off the top of my head, he kind of just starts shooting at you, like, get away from me, get away, and I sat there, I'm like, you're shooting me, well, trying to. And I wanted to see if it would click with him, that, oh wait, this Master Chief, no, he was too far gone. Everybody was a threat to him at that point. He did not want to chance it. I put him out of his misery, but still.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. It's that level 2 really speaks to their character design or the enemy design, because you had the Covenant, right? That Covenant is very different. They have shields. They're kind of smarter. figuring out where to go, how to fight you, versus the Flood where they just run at you, no shields, they're just coming at you, attack, 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 multiple different many different enemies at the same time. That's how the Flood was kind of attacked you. So there's different tactics, a different style to combat them, and different strategy too. So that's what I liked about the levels, is having that different enemy was huge.
Yeah. Speaking of enemies, what was your favorite way to dispatch them? Like any favorite weapons among the arsenal that you have in Halo 1?
My favorite gun is going to probably be I like to call the sexy shotgun. That shotgun packed a beautiful punch. It felt really strong, and I would do everything I could to get a shotgun, and really hoping you wouldn't pick it up. I wouldn't say it, but I was really hoping you wouldn't pick it up, so I could pick it up, because you could literally just tear through enemies. One shot, if you missed, you died. But if you could get that shot, it felt good, really strong. It felt like you were going to kill the enemy, and then it did kill the enemy, which I think is, they nailed it, right? Like you want that. You want it to feel good, but you also want it to be strong. And I think that shotgun really, really made that happen. And there was no other gun where I felt that way. The sniper was good, but you missed. It didn't feel as good. With a shotgun, you run in there, you could just boom, boom, boom. You killed the whole team. Then you die, you come back, you grab that shotgun, and you go again. I thought that was an awesome experience for me.
Yeah. I personally, the main reason why I didn't take the shotgun most of the time is because I found a plasma rifle or a rocket launcher nearby, and that was my favorite combination. I like the sleek design of the plasma rifle and how it's an energy weapon and whatnot. It's not strong, but unlike like the basic assault rifle that you have whenever you come back to life and whatnot, which is designed really cool, but I never feel like I'm actually hitting anything as I'm shooting it. It doesn't have a lot of feedback. For me, the plasma rifle has better feedback and whatnot, since I see the old H blue orb strike an enemy and like explode, and they go or they don't move at all because they're a hunter and they're going to hit me in 2 seconds. It's either one. And as for the rocket launcher, I just like seeing things explode, and so whenever I saw the Flood kind of huddle together, the little head crab looking things that reminded me of the head crabs from Half-Life, or I don't know I forget if they have a specific name, but the ones that could also carry weapons or just jump at you. First of all, they were really annoying, but either way around.
Not with a shotgun, just saying.
Not with a shotgun, sure, but I had a rocket launcher. So ultimately, my goal was to shoot them while they were back there before they saw me. But either way around, I like rocket launcher. Haha, rocket, make go boom. It was fun.
Agreed. So let's talk a little bit about the weaknesses that we had with Halo. And there are some, even though this game is a classic, I think there was some things that we didn't like about it, and it may be a sign of the times, but there was just different parts that definitely stood out. I would like to start with repetitiveness. There were some levels, not all, that had some repetitiveness in them, where specifically I believe the snow level had a lot of repetitive library, I believe. And in that one, you really go through the same corridor at least 5 times, at least.
Yeah.
And it was a long corridor. And I think, it may have been worse because we were playing on Legendary at the time. But when we were going through that level, after the 3rd time going through the same corridor, we're like, okay, is this going to be it? Or is there going to be something else? Because I can't do this anymore. So there was definitely that feeling. And they tried to change it up by adding different enemies. And then on top of that, there are places that we went back to later. You went through in the first part of the game, you came back at later levels. And they tried to, connect the world is what I think they were going for. But it didn't, unlike open worlds of today's, it didn't feel as one congruent world. It just felt as a repetitive level, unfortunately. And I think that was probably my biggest weakness, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, the initial levels had a wow factor. I almost said flactor. The initial levels had a wow factor to them when they emphasized the scale of Halo and how large and varied the environment can be. That's why I enjoyed the 4th mission so much. But as the game went on, it became more repetitive as we were met with more corridors. Met with more corridors and in missions like the library and same areas like in the snowy locations that you mentioned before. And speaking of things that could be like kind of on the repetitive side, even though it doesn't really fall into the same category, but it's kind of right there next to it. How do you feel about the weapon variety, like in the game in general?
So the weapon variety I thought was not great, personally. There were a few weapons, and I will say that, this definitely probably takes, because of when this game came out, is probably the big reason we had this, but each weapon was very unique. Very unique. They accomplished different things, right? Some newer games, you'll have a whole bunch of weapons, but they're very similar with very slight changes. In this game, that's not the case. They're all very, very different weapons. But, there was, the shotgun, the rocket launcher, assault rifle. And then you had kind of a repetitive on the Covenant side, but it was a similar version. It kind of did the same thing, but it was just a little slightly different. And then you had a few standouts that were different. So I don't think there was a lot of weapons, which kind of drew me to using the shotgun. Once you figured out what gun you wanted, that's a done deal. That's all you needed. Which, I guess is a strong point in some case, but to me, it just felt like I didn't have that many options. I would have liked maybe just a few more. Would have helped, I think.
I agree. For me, I'm along the same line with that in opinion. I feel like each weapon is distinct, but ultimately, I've only ever had to use 3, or ever felt like I ever really had 3 that I enjoyed using, and never really felt the need to switch as often, unless I was killed and I got desperate to grab a weapon because I don't like the assault rifle.
Because it's weak.
It's weak. It doesn't give any feedback, and I'm just sitting there spraying, and it's like the icon is red. Here we go. You're hitting them, even though it doesn't really look like it. They're staggering sometimes. I'm like, I just feel like I'm peppering them with something, and they're begging for salt. Like there's no point. To me, there's no point in using that. That's why I end up using the little Covenant like handgun weapon thing, or the handgun in general, because at least I had some kick to it. I didn't feel it with the assault rifle.
Hey, the Covenant one was great because you could just take down the shield and hit them. You're great, perfect, good to go.
Yeah, yeah. That's true too. Speaking of other weaknesses, how'd you feel about like the controls in general of Halo?
So
we were playing on PC, to mind you, obviously. But I'm saying that just for anyone listening, we were playing on PC, obviously.
Correct.
On keyboard and mouse.
Correct. So we both use keyboard and mouse, definitely.
Yeah.
Though I have played the game with a controller, I don't think my opinion changes in either option.
Yeah.
And I would say that I didn't mind the controls too much until we got onto a Banshee, I believe. The Banshee, the flight, I felt the flight was just a little weird. It just felt a little floaty when you tried to turn. It takes a minute, and I think this is true with all the driving in Halo and all the vehicles. When you try to turn, it's a slower movement. It's just trying to maybe show you how it's supposed to work for that vehicle, so it feels a little more real. But to me, it was kind of annoying. You tried to turn it doesn't turn immediately. They had some cool controls where you can do like a little back twirl, flip, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was still hard to get it to go exactly where you want it to go. And I feel like in my opinion, for this type of game, it should have been a little bit easier to control the Banshee and put it wherever you go, where you want it to go. And that shouldn't have been the challenge. So that's how I feel. But I know you didn't like the Warthog, right? That was your big one?
I hated the Warthog. I get that it's a staple of Halo and whatnot, and I could see the appeal. I could definitely see the appeal. It's definitely we're doing this, brother, kind of vehicle. But I didn't like how bouncy it is, how much it sways from left to right all the time. I get it, we're not exactly on great terrain half the time, but sometimes I'm like, I want to turn left, and it not only turns, but it drifts by itself. And then I hit one bump and it flips over. I'm like, everybody else here falls like a rock. Every other vehicle here falls like a rock. The chopper that is introduced in a later Halo, it felt like when that got destroyed, it felt like a rock. The Warthog was just naturally bouncy, like they had the hydraulics turned up to 20 or something like that, and that irritated me because I could not drive well with it, and I couldn't tell if it was because I was on keyboard and mouse, or if it's just naturally bouncy and whatnot, and I can't control it that well. I am one of those people who feels like there is a difference between driving controls when you're playing on a controller versus on a keyboard and mouse. Like, I would not play Burnout or Need for Speed on a keyboard and mouse. I would play that with a controller. So maybe if I swapped a controller for that, might have been better. But for keyboard and mouse, I did not enjoy it.
Right, and you're a first-person shooter, so you're using keyboard and mouse. If you're on a PC, obviously on a console, you're going to use a controller.
Yeah.
But hopefully, you always hope for it to be good either way, right? You want to play how you want to play it. So.
Yeah, you can, and not every vehicle could be a winner. I'm aware of this. It's just I wish that one wasn't the one I had a problem with, because that's the one that came up the most.
True. It was open pretty often. Starting from level 2.
Now, did we, before we start wrapping things up, did we have any like other like personal gripes? Something that's like, it's not really a weakness of the game, I just don't like this thing.
For me, I think I didn't have any specific personal gripes. You know, Halo was a big part of my life when I was in the past. I played all the Halos and I loved all of them. That doesn't change for this game. So I don't have any final personal gripes. I just think what I've stated before matches exactly, what I'm thinking for this game.
Okay. For me, it was a lack of versatile movement. The chief that I saw in cutscenes where he's sprinting and jumping over stuff, I'm like, can I be that chief? I get that it might just be the style of Halo and how it is and whatnot, but I don't like not being able to sprint at the very least. I feel like half the time whenever I needed to get away from something, I was jumping away. I'm like, I should be running, but that's whatever. I give it a pass, because either way around, the game seems to be designed with the idea that, hey, you're not going to be able to outrun everything. So maybe I was just playing incorrectly. Maybe I needed to go head first into danger rather than trying to bounce back.
True, and we did try to personally skip a couple enemies where we tried to run through. Didn't work, but we did attempt it pretty hard.
But now we're just going to go ahead and just wrap this up. So we're going to break into our overall thoughts before closing out the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed your stay. That's what I tend to say on my channel. I did not mean to say that. It immediately kicked in. We're just going to wrap this thing up with our overall thoughts. For me, Halo Combat Evolved is a lot of fun despite the repetition, and still holds up very well today as a first-person shooter. It's not very long, and as we mentioned earlier, we played most of it on Legendary, so that could have had an influence on our opinions. It probably did have an influence on our opinions. Regardless, it was a really good time, especially with a friend. I highly recommend playing it with a friend.
So I felt Halo Combat Evolved, once again, I'm just going to reiterate, lots of fun, very fun experience, very fun co-op experience specifically. Playing it with a friend really just really brings out the greatness in that game. I also believe that just having the variety, not the super variety of weapons, but the weapon choices there, and just the level of design mostly throughout the game really made for a strong experience. And they had a few weaknesses, but I think it mostly overcomes those weaknesses. It's a very good experience, and definitely a classic. I recommend everyone at least play one time through. And of course, the multiplayer is what the game's known for as well, so I would check that out.
All right, and with that, we can wrap up the session here. So if you enjoyed this video, then feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, or whatever people do these days. And if you want to come through and party up again, we'll be cheering. We'll be chilling here in the lobby. See ya.
See ya.